It's KarKix, classics, custom, sports cars and trucks, plus news, great places to go, and products you'll love. Don't forget to check us out on the web at KarKix.com. That's KarKix.com, and on Facebook and Twitter. Now, here's the host of KarKix, Bob Lang.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to KarKix. I'm Bob, and you are with us today. So we're going to break it to you gently, but we're not doing a special today, per se. We'll have features in our regular stuff, but we've been doing so many specials lately, it's time to have just a regular show. So enjoy the potpourri of automotive entertainment coming your way next. All right? Hey, Nissan's going along with the nostalgia craze by bringing back its former nameplate Datsun. In 2014, they're saying they're going to bring back the Datsun nameplate. This is both from the Japanese news agency Nikkei and even a more credible source to me, the Detroit Bureau and Paul Eisenstein. Nissan wants to create a lower-cost sub-brand to better compete in countries like Russia, India, and Indonesia. The cars would cost roughly twice of what the Indian-built Nano, the world's cheapest production car, would be, bringing it to around $6,100 US, something like that. So the Datsun's going to be a lower brand, sub-brand, including a 0.8-liter engine, 800 cc's for the Russians. Warranties would probably be shorter than Nissan cars. These are according to the web reports. They're not official Nissan PR, so your mileage may vary. You know, Nissan's not saying anything yet, but you know how things go. Somebody tells somebody, and then I tell you. Datsun was Nissan's original name prior to the 1980s when it was faded out. And during that interim time, the Nissan models carried both Nissan and Datsun badges. Man, you know, I kind of wish they would bring back the little Z. You know, now I mean the Z car today is pretty cool. But my Datsun 240Z, man, that was just like, whoo, a little baby Jaguar. It was awesome. Won a lot of races with that car. Anyway, on with the show. SRT-8, Chrysler's hot car division, will unleash a reborn Barracuda with a supercharged Hemi engine. Sounds tasty. According to a report in the Motor Authority, the SRT-branded Barracuda is going to replace the Dodge Challenger sometime around 2014-2015. I like the Challenger. I wish they'd keep it around. But it'll be the first vehicle to sport a supercharged Hemi engine, and that's pretty darn cool. The original Motor Authority story regarding the supercharged Hemis in the SRT-8 vehicles said the new option would appear late 2012 for the 2013 model year. So keep your ears perked. We'll see what happens. The unnamed source of the info told them that the supercharged V8s would put out somewhere between 540 and 570 horsepower. I'm leaning towards the latter number myself and would use a twin-screw supercharger kit. Other stories around the web state the motor will wind up in the Challenger and Charger as well. So, Challenger stay, Challenger go. Who knows? We'll start saving right now and stand by. Think about it. We currently have great pony cars. Better than the 60s. I know there's a bunch of you going, gasp, that's blasphemy. It's not blasphemy. It's a fact. Boss Mustangs, ZL1 Camaros, and now supercharged Challengers from the factory with a factory warranty and the newer technology. I suggest you buy as many as you like before the government legislates them away like in the 70s. Good times for car folks are here now. So we have Nissan bringing back Datsun and Chrysler bringing back Barracuda. Ooh, Barracuda. Now comes word that BMW, who acquired a collection of British marques when it bought the Rover Group in 1994, including Austin, Land Rover, MG, Wolseley, Mini, Riley, and Triumph, is looking to bring back the Triumph brand, perhaps as a Z4 makeover that's a little, underclassed to compete price-wise with the Miata. After BMW broke up and sold off the Rover Group in 2000, BMW retained Mini, Riley, and Triumph. Now, Mini, was launched in 2001, while the others are dormant. BMW, though, has filed a new trademark for Triumph that extends not only to vehicles, but also a host of branded merchandise. Watches, jewelry, luggage, leather goods, key fobs, shirts, hats, even Christmas tree decorations. The approach appears to follow Mini's successful rise as a car maker and a brand. The rumors have been going around for a long time that BMW is getting ready to relaunch the Triumph brand, But more than a decade later, since the rumors started, nothing happened on wheels yet. Another old name came back last year. MG has been back in the United Kingdom since July 2011. They're owned by SAIC, the Shanghai automaker. No sports car yet, but a pair of sedans are out. The 5-door hatchback known as the MG6 GT went on sale in May. The Magnet went on sale in July. Well, this has been a heck of a week with Amelia Island, Florida. This year, legendary Hollywood star cars included Natalie Wood's Mercedes-Benz 300 SL, Ginger Rogers' 29 Duesenberg, Rita Hayworth's Ghia-bodied Cadillac, and Tom Mix's supercharged Cord. But wait, there was more. Mike Yeager, who you heard here on KarKix a few weeks ago from Mid-America Motorworks, brought his radical rear-engine experimental Corvette XP819 to keep the tradition of unusual vehicles showing up at Amelia alive. It was said that Corvette father Zora Arkus Duntov didn't like the rear-engine Corvette XP819 concept. It was created in '64 despite an agreement between Duntov and Frank Winchell, the engineering chief at Chevrolet. They were at odds about the viability of a rear-engine Corvette, and if you think about it, knowing what we do now, it would have been a tough cookie to cut. Experience with the Corvair project caused Winchell to believe that a Corvette with a rear-mounted V8 would work, especially if they made it an aluminum V8. Zora disagreed, and poor Larry Shinoda was given the job to make it work. After refining the concept and designing a car that was at least somewhat to Duntov's liking, the experimental rear-engine Corvette was running, and in 2 months, they put the package together. With all that weight out back, you knew something bad was going to happen, and it did. The XP819 was crashed during a high-speed lane change test. If you're doing the physics in your head along with me, it's okay to chuckle. The rear engine's weight and position were the problem. Really, with the weight so far out back, they could never get it to work properly. Physics are what they are, and the XP819 never made production. After the crash, what was left of the XP819 was sent to Smokey Unick's best damn garage in town in Daytona Beach, and it was cut up and stripped of parts, and the rest was bought by a Corvette collector. It's now owned by Mike Yeager, founder of Mid-America Motorworks, one of the nation's leading suppliers of Corvette parts, and he's provided Corvettes to the Corvette Museum for display in the past as well. But that was out at Amelia Island. Also at the show, to celebrate Cobra's 50th anniversary, there were just 6 Cobra Daytona Coupes made for the World Championship racing season in '64 and '65. They were hand-built to do a specific job, and that's to kick Ferrari's rear end. Or as Shelby put it, next year, Ferrari's ass is mine. And Shelby was good to his word. Roger Miller's Daytona Coupe, the actual car that led the charge to unseat Ferrari, was part of the Amelia Island celebration this year. The Concours d'Elegance also held an anniversary seminar on the legendary Ferrari 250 GTO. The foundation had been working on the anniversary celebration for a long time. The GTO was built from '62 to '64, universally considered the most coveted of all Ferraris built, by most. These vehicles rarely change hands, and when they do, it's usually via private transaction in the dark of night with a large trunk full of dough under a bridge by men in black sedans with strange accents. While Amelia Island had 250 cars of exceptional lineage, the Good Guys Spring Nationals in Scottsdale had over 2,000 muscle cars, customs, hot rods of exceptional quality and questionable lineage. Well, that's the nature and the beauty of hot rods. You made it, you drive it. Fords with Chevy motors, Olds motors, whatever fits. The joy of the show is what you haven't seen before and don't expect. It's a big show with over 2,000 pre-'73 hot rods and muscle cars, plus hundreds of vendors, a big swap meet, even a model car show, and one big hot rod cruise through Phoenix that included a stop at Keith Stripley's Valley Speed Center and car collection. I think they stopped at 2 places this year that had car collections. In addition to the cruise, RPM Hot Rods of Pittsburgh brought their $225,000 '70 Challenger, dubbed the Good Guys Missile. They even gave away a '65 Galaxy 500 Custom at the show, built by the Drew Brothers. That was given away on Sunday. There are 20 events in this year's calendar by the Good Guys. Use the link to the Good Guys calendar at KarKix.com. That's KarKix for our new listeners. If you have photos or comments you'd like to share about either of these events, Amelia or the Good Guys, let's do that on the KarKix Facebook page. That's a great place for us to interact. So we'll see you there on Facebook. Show us your pictures. Let's chat cars. That's what we love to do. From the Automotive Newswire comes news that passenger vehicle sales in China fell 4.5% to 237 million units in January and February. Despite the poor sales performance for the beginning of the year, GM, the largest foreign automaker in China, increased by 30% to 250,000 units. Wow, that is some strong sales. This according to the Bloomberg News Service. As you've heard here before, Buick is already selling more cars in China than they do in the United States. Volkswagen's Audi unit increased its sales in China by 66% in February to 31,300-something units. China also confirmed that it has declared that all vehicles purchased by government agencies during 2012 will be selected from an approved list of 412 models. None of the models on the list are produced by foreign automakers, despite the fact that foreign brands accounted for 9 out of 10 top-selling models in China. Back with more KarKix in just a little bit. And now it's time for a KarKix car quiz. On the $10 bills made between 1928 and 1998, how many cars are on the back of the bill? A, 4, B, 16, C, 2, or D, just 1? We'll have the answer in just a moment.
We'll be right back with more KarKix.
KarChex will perform a 155-point pre-inspection auto inspection almost anywhere in the USA. They have detailed auto inspection reports. If you're going to buy a car, you want to get it inspected. It's likely the second largest investment you'll make. Get the gold package and receive a KarChex 155-point pre-purchase inspection, plus the added protection of Carfax. That's right, you'll get a Carfax vehicle history report. It's the KarKix KarChex. Say it 5 times fast, but check it out today at KarKix.com. Are you in an automotive-related industry? If you'd like to advertise on KarKix, we offer social media, web, and on-air opportunities to automotive-based businesses that want to be heard by this very special audience. People who take action and get things done. Auto enthusiasts with the means to use products and services provided by quality companies. We have special programming that gives you the opportunity to get your message out with more than just a 60-second ad. To find out more, use the contact page at KarKix.com. You wouldn't drink and drive, that would be stupid, but what most people don't realize is that texting has become an even greater danger. Many people assume the problem is mostly teens, but that's not the case. In fact, almost half of all grown-up adults admit to texting while driving. 50%! Compared to only 34% of teens. Distracted drivers were responsible for over 500,000 police-reported crashes in 2008 alone. That's just huge! 500,000 crashes! Hey, keep your attention on the road, not on cell phones and other mobile devices. It's easy. Just ignore it. If you can't do that, put the device in your trunk. And if you can't do either of those, don't drive a vehicle at all, because I'm driving here. I know you can't control how other people use their phones. You can control how and when you use yours. So turn off your phone before you turn on your car. If your car's cool enough, leave the radio off too. There's some music. This message brought to you by your friends at KarKix.com. And now the answer to your KarKix car quiz. If you manage to find a $10 bill from 1998 or earlier, you'll find that the answer is 4. 4 cars appear on the back of the bill made from 1928 to 1998. And that's your KarKix car quiz. Ah, the life of an automotive journalist. Nothing but four-wheeled bliss. Ah, the Z06, the ZL1, oh, the GT500, the 599 Ferrari, and I think today is a Lamborghini Aventador day. Now, if I can just find my garage remote, there's perception and then there's reality. You'd be surprised to find how everyday our cars are, but some of them haven't been, and some of them have shaped the direction our lives have taken. Mark Roman calls it Automotive Genealogy, and he wants you to participate on today's KarKix. Here's Mark Roman.
For KarKix, it's Mark Roman, and it's often been said that you should never forget where you came from. It's important to remember your heritage and how you got from point A to Z. And that goes double for anything you've had with at least 4 wheels. Now, here comes the fun part. Next time you're sitting in traffic and wondering whether you're going to get to work on time, or maybe you're waiting to pick the kids up at school because they missed the bus again, or they're in an extracurricular activity, or maybe Johnny had another game you're picking him up after. You need a little diversion to take your mind off something for a bit, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to take some time and think about this. There's no doubt that someone has recently asked you, what was your favorite car that you owned? Maybe your favorite truck, your favorite convertible, SUV, anything. Well, if you look towards your cars as you look towards your kids, that could be a real hard question to answer. Oh, sure, you love them all the same, but at times and for whatever reason, you might love one more than the other. Now, confess, we're all guilty as charged on that. It's okay, but maybe it's because your son just made the honor roll, or your youngest daughter just started on her first play at school. Those are special moments you should just never forget. And for your own good, always try to remember the good times in life, especially when she just had her first fender bender, or when your son's called in on the carpet at school for being, well, a teenager. For being a teenager and not using the proper judgment. That's all happened to us, hasn't it? You know it's going to happen, but you just don't know when. Well, it's the same with a car. You love it when everything works properly and is flawless, and it's the machine that you bought it to be. And maybe you don't love it so much when you break down on the freeway for some unforeseen reason. Now, that could be an unexpected flat tire, or maybe from neglect. Now, either way, they're your kids. You love them regardless of what happens. If your car's in the shop, just think of it as though you're going to visit it at the hospital. Or if it was impounded for being parked in the wrong place, you're going to bail it out of jail. Now, you see how I think? And speaking of kids, well, it's Professor Roman here. That sounded good, okay? Well, work with me. I've got a homework assignment for you. I want you to take some time over the next week and jot down on a piece of paper. Now, don't use a computer. Use a pen and a pad for effect. Write down in chronology, in order, every car, every truck, every SUV that you've owned over the years. Everything. In retrospect, it's a great way to learn a little bit about yourself and what makes you, you. And if it makes you appreciate the vehicles that you've had a little bit more, then, well, my job is done. It's your automotive genealogy, or your car kids. And every car has a story on how you bought it, where you bought it, why you bought it. And at that point in time, it was probably the most important thing on your mind. And I want you to ask yourself, what compelled me to buy that vehicle? Was it something I just had to have, or did the new car fever hit me like a ton of bricks? Or was it something that just came along and you never warmed up to it, but you had to have it? You got rid of it the minute you could. You know, you made the payments on it until it turned 60 months. And maybe you loved it, but lost it in a custody battle and just got to see it whenever it needed washed, repaired, or needed a pair of braces. An alignment, I'm sorry. Well, jot it all down and let's spark your mind a little bit on this. And when we come back in the next segment, I'm going to run through the chronology of my vehicles that I've had over the years. We'll have some fun with this. That's coming up next on KarKix.
KarKix will be right back.
And now it's time for a KarKix car quiz. What brand of car did General Motors quit producing that ended over 100 years of production? A. Oldsmobile, B. Saturn, C. Hummer, or D. Pontiac? We'll have the answer in just a moment. KarKix will perform a 155-point pre-inspection auto inspection almost anywhere in the USA. They have detailed auto inspection reports. If you're going to buy a car, you want to get it inspected. It's likely the second largest investment you'll make. Get the gold package and receive a KarKix 155-point pre-purchase inspection, plus the added protection of Carfax. That's right, you'll get a Carfax vehicle history report. It's the KarKix Car Checks. Say it 5 times fast, but check it out today at KarKix.com. It's the KarKix Car Cap, a great ball cap for just $10. You can be a part of the ruling elite with your KarKix Car Cap. Stop being laughed at by your mom. Get the hat. Just $10 plus tax and handling, and an agent of a semi-governmental agency will deliver it to wherever you get your U.S. mail. Get the KarKix Car Cap today at KarKix.com. That's KarKix.com. The Blackhawk Automotive Galleries are like no place you've ever experienced. Located an hour southeast of San Francisco in Danville, California, the Blackhawk encompasses nearly 70,000 square feet, with 4 exhibition galleries, an automotive reference library, and a museum store, plus a special events area and meeting room. The Blackhawk is a Smithsonian affiliate museum, open Wednesday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Learn more about the Blackhawk at blackhawkmuseum.org. See you there.
Coming up, it's the KarKix Travel Guide.
You wouldn't drink and drive, that would be stupid, but what most people don't realize is that texting has become an even greater danger. Many people assume the problem is mostly teens, but that's not the case. In fact, almost half of all grown-up adults admit to texting while driving. 50%! Compared to only 34% of teens. Distracted drivers were responsible for over 500,000 police-reported crashes in 2008 alone. That's just huge! 500,000 crashes! Hey, keep your attention on the road, not on cell phones and other mobile devices. It's easy. Just ignore it. If you can't do that, put the device in your trunk. And if you can't do either of those, don't drive a vehicle at all, because I'm driving here. I know you can't control how other people use their phones. You can control how and when you use yours. So turn off your phone before you turn on your car. If your car's cool enough, leave the radio off too. There's some music. This message brought to you by your friends at KarKix.com. And now the answer to your KarKix car quiz. Ransom E. Olds began the Oldsmobile Company in 1897. In its 107-year history, it produced 35.2 million cars. It was Oldsmobile that was over 100 years old when GM decided to end production in April of 2004. Saturn production officially stopped in October of 2009 after a deal to sell the brand to Penske Automotive Group fell through. Hummer failed to sell for a measly $150 million and was dissolved in 2010. Pontiac was an automobile brand that was established in 1926 as a companion make for General Motors' Oakland brand. GM continued to consolidate brands and ended the production of Pontiacs in late 2009, with the final dealer franchises expiring Halloween night, 2010. And that's your KarKix Car Quiz.
And it's Mark Roman back for KarKix on my second segment, talking about none other than Automotive Genealogy. Now, it's kind of homework for you for next week, but have you ever done this? Have you ever written down on a piece of paper in chronology, in order, every vehicle that you've owned, whether it's a car, a truck, a convertible, an SUV? It's all part of the fabric and fiber of who you are as a person. I'm always fascinated on what people drive and what compels them to buy that and how long they had it, and every vehicle has a story behind it. Personally, I call it my car kids. It's almost like having children. And what was the first vehicle that you ever owned? Well, for me, I had one of the most collectible Volkswagens and didn't realize it. My first vehicle was a 1967 21-window Samba. It's the split window that everybody wants. It's the most desirable one today. When you go to the auctions like Barrett-Jackson and you look up on stage and you see something that you had in the past going for 6 figures, and your jaw drops and you're wishing that you never got rid of that. And man, well, let me tell you the story behind it. I had just come out of Pittsburgh and moved into Idaho to take my first radio job. And for probably 3 months, I was hoofing it, getting around town, just walking here and there, walking to work and back. I was close enough to where I didn't really need a vehicle, but of course, knowing me, I wanted one. And in the paper, I came across a 1967 21 split window, and I bought it off a college professor for an entire, are you ready? It was a sin. $500. That was it. And it wasn't a hippie bus. This guy actually took really, really good care of it. He was a professor, and he had a few spots of primer on the vehicle. Other than that, it was the two-tone. It was the white top. It was the medium blue bottom, and it had that highly coveted top that slid the entire way back. I mean, the minute that I saw that and my friends saw it, we immediately had to have it. We nicknamed it the Beast because that's really what it was. It got you from point A to point B. It get you there very fast, but everywhere you went, everybody looked at it and they wanted to be a part of it. It looked like it was just the party bus. First thing we immediately did was hop in the bus and take the initial ride out to American Falls to do the windsurfing. And I had my buddy standing up immediately out of the top, and riding for 20 miles with the wind hitting his face and all the bugs in his teeth. And that's how we christened the vehicle. But it was just, the vehicle to have when you're 21. And once again, I was doing sales. I was driving around in a suit in that thing. I wasn't doing anything differently, but it was kind of a shock when people would see me get up and pull out, and all of a sudden I'm there to make a proposal to them as opposed to pulling up in some luxury car. But that's how things got started. Had that vehicle a couple of years until in the dead of winter up in Idaho, you're driving around and you can't seal the top. And if you've ever sat in a bus, you know that wind comes directly down onto your neck, a horrible draft, and you're living in an environment of 30 below zero plus wind chills and getting violently sick over it. And that's when you decide to sell it. And what did I sell it and trade it for? Are you ready? This will make me cry too. It was a Renault, an R5, a 1980 Le Car, and actually it wasn't as bad as you think. It was a fun little vehicle. I wish I could find another one again, but they gave me $1,000 for the bus when I got that. I still miss that bus, but I miss that Le Car as well. That got me for a couple of years, and at that time I was more fascinated in what kind of mileage you could get out of a vehicle as opposed to, something that was real hopped up with muscle intentions. I'd already gone through that through high school and college, and this was something a little different. I was starting to dabble into the European cars, and to have a French car was kind of fascinating. But once again, this thing got me over 44 miles to a gallon until I hit some black ice one morning going to work. When that happened, I had fortunately picked up about 3 months earlier a 1967 Volkswagen convertible Beetle. Again, another desirable V-dub that everybody wants, and they still want. And I wish I still had that. I had it with intentions to actually restore the vehicle, so when I hit the black ice and rolled the Le Car and that was totaled, at least I had something I could drive. And I drove that probably for about another 6 months, again, in the dead of winter in Idaho. When you're not getting very much heat out of a vehicle, you decide to what? Yes, trade it. And at the time when you're young and you're looking for your first new vehicle, you almost feel like it's punishment driving something that isn't. So I took the plunge and bought, I remember this day like it was yesterday, Valentine's Day of 1985, and it was a 1985 shiny new Honda Accord, a hatchback. It was blue and it was beautiful, and it was my first new car, and I loved that. And I drove that for about 3 years, maybe put 50,000 miles on the vehicle until I moved through my career into Tucson. Once you move into Tucson, and the first time that it hits 107 degrees, you're rushing down to have air conditioning installed into it. I just never needed it up in Idaho, so why do you need to buy a car with air conditioning? So you immediately rush down. It's like, please help, get this in, get this air conditioning installed, and then you're all set again. And briefly after that, I started to do a long commute, and that was from Tucson to Phoenix, 107 miles one way to another station I was working, and my first jump into the majors doing radio. And, well, the Accord was fun, but I wanted something that was actually a little better on mileage, and that's when I turned to 88 Honda CRX HF. HF stood for the high fuel model, and if you remember back in the 80s, it started initially in Idaho, gas was about $1.28 a gallon, and by the time the late 80s moved around, it was down to 85 cents a gallon, but still, I was always fascinated by what I could get and squeeze out of a gallon of gas. And that's what turned me on to the CRX. It was fun. It was rated at 50 miles per gallon in the city, 56 on the highway. If you remember, that's what they were known for. And when the oil embargo hit in the 70s, do you remember what the speed limit was? Up until the late 80s, it was 55, wasn't it? And for that reason, my car was getting on a trip nearly 65 miles to a gallon up into Phoenix. So there was nothing wrong with that, and I made a game out of it. I could actually drive from Tucson to Phoenix for $1.28, but here was the kicker. I could drive from Phoenix to San Diego for $5.50, and I did it. And even further, I made a trip once from Phoenix to Salt Lake City for a whole, are you ready, $10. That was it. $10 to drive from Phoenix to Salt Lake City. Could you even imagine something like that today? So I had my fun with those vehicles. Actually, I traded an 88 in for an 89, and this one was right on the showroom floor. And you know how everybody starts to take these CRXs and they turn them into tuners? Well, this is possibly the first tuner I'd ever seen in the way of a CRX. They had dropped it. They had put some 15-inch Yankees, which were very, very hip on the car at the time. had a little bit of a sunroof put into it, and I was set. Again, it was a high fuel model, but I took that from 89 and rolled that all the way into 94 using that, and that's when I bought a 93 Subaru wagon. Once again, a brand new Loyal. It was a charcoal gray, and I used that for about an entire year. That's probably where I got my interest in station wagons. I've never made the jump into an SUV. I've always been a wagon guy. As we go through the chronology of our car kids.
More with Mark Roman later in the program. KarKix will be right back. Time for a KarKix car quiz. What year did Ford make the last Model T? A, 1925, B, 1927, C, 1924, or D, 1931? We'll have the answer in just a moment. The Blackhawk Automotive Galleries are like no place you've ever experienced. Located an hour southeast of San Francisco in Danville, California, the Blackhawk encompasses nearly 70,000 square feet. With 4 exhibition galleries, an automotive reference library, and a museum store, plus a special events area and meeting room. The Blackhawk is a Smithsonian affiliate museum, open Wednesday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Learn more about the Blackhawk at blackhawkmuseum.org. See you there.
Coming up, it's the KarKix Travel Guide.
You wouldn't drink and drive, that would be stupid, but what most people don't realize is that texting has become an even greater danger. Many people assume the problem is mostly teens, but that's not the case. In fact, almost half of all grown-up adults admit to texting while driving. 50%! Compared to only 34% of teens. Distracted drivers were responsible for over 500,000 police-reported crashes in 2008 alone. That's just huge! 500,000 crashes! Hey, keep your attention on the road, not on cell phones and other mobile devices. It's easy. Just ignore it. If you can't do that, put the device in your trunk. And if you can't do either of those, don't drive a vehicle at all, because I'm driving here. I know you can't control how other people use their phones. You can control how and when you use yours. So turn off your phone before you turn on your car. If your car's cool enough, leave the radio off too. There's some music. This message brought to you by your friends at KarKix.com. And now here's the answer to your KarKix car quiz. The first production Model T was produced August of 1908 and left the factory in September of 1908. The plant was located in Detroit, Michigan. On May 26, 1927, Henry Ford watched the 15 millionth Model T Ford roll off the assembly line. The last Tin Lizzie rolled out the door October of 1927. In the teens and early 20s, Ford Motor Company dominated the automotive marketplace with its Model T. However, during the mid-20s, this market dominance started to fade as competitors such as GM, Chrysler, Dodge, and others caught up with Ford's mass production system and began to outcompete by offering more power, new conveniences, or even color choices other than black. The Model T was replaced by the Model A Series 2 on May 26, 1927 as a 1928 model. And that's your KarKix car quiz.
Time to open up the KarKix Travel Guide.
In the travel guide this week is the city of Auburn, Indiana. The whole city. You see, Auburn is the location of the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Festival, held every Labor Day weekend, and it's home to the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Automobile Museum and the National Automotive and Truck Museum of the United States. Both are national historic landmarks. Auburn may only have 13,000 people, but it is home to more than a few rare and very beautiful and special cars. Not only is the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Automobile Museum a National Historic Landmark, it's also located in the former national headquarters building of the Auburn Automobile Company. The museum's open to the public 7 days a week, 9 to 5, and they're handicap able and all that stuff, typical to museums. And they say allow at least an hour and a half to 2 hours to tour the museum. But if you're listening to this show, you better allow more. People who have a strong passion for automobiles and automobile history, American history, Art Deco design, architecture, special engineering, need to have a lot more time to enjoy the museum and its galleries. All this stuff is self-guided. If you have a group, you can probably get a tour. The docents are very knowledgeable. They encourage photography, so you take all the pictures you like. Share them with us on KarKix on the Facebook page. The Auburn Cord Duesenberg Automobile Museum has welcomed nearly 2 million visitors since it opened in '74. It's a place where automotive history was made. Most of the Auburn and Cord automobiles that you see at auctions and at shows were designed and developed there. Auburn Automobile Company started in 1900. Most people recognize the mark by the famous Auburn Speedster, the boat-tail Speedster. KarKix joins others in naming the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Automobile Museum one of the top 10 KarKix destinations in the United States. This automotive heritage site has 120 cars from 1894 to 1999, but they're rare and special. They're on 3 floors. The museum has the greatest and most extensive collection of Auburn, Cord, and Duesenberg automobiles in the world and features the largest exhibit of Duesenberg automobiles on public display in the world. They even have a Tucker. This is a destination that you and your family shouldn't miss. This must be on your bucket list. When you get in there, you're going to step back through time to the golden era of automotive design. It's supported by the building around you. Just the look of the inside, the halls, everything. You'll be walking the same showrooms as the automotive giants of the Auburn Cord companies. Touring the museum will give you an impression of what a day at Auburn must have been like in the 1930s. Now, the museum is part of a special group of museums that have achieved accreditation by the American Association of Museums. The Auburn Cord Duesenberg Automobile Museum is one of a handful that is accredited by this organization, and they've carried that continually. Adjacent to the Auburn Cord Duesenberg Museum is the National Automotive and Truck Museum of the United States. That museum includes post-war cars, prototypes, light and heavy-duty vehicles. There's a gallery of International Harvester vehicles there. They have race cars, Indy cars, muscle cars, as well as memorabilia and objects like gas pumps, a 1948 diner. The museum emphasizes post-World War II cars and trucks, but they have vehicles on display from 1908 high-wheelers to some current production pickups. You'll also find a model car and truck and a toy museum. The reason we gave the travel guide to the whole city this time is it also has the National Military History Center and the Cruise Automobile and Carriage Museum, which includes, for all you deadheads, the Sugar Magnolia, the original tour bus of the Grateful Dead, World War II vehicles, and more than a few guns. The Cruise Automotive and Carriage Museum is home to one of the most interesting collection of vehicles in the U.S. It's great fun, very educational. They have classic cars, race cars, customs, and some really unique carriages. I know they're not cars, but these carriages are pretty cool. If you like famous cars, stuff from TV and movies, they have the recent Batmobile. They have the General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard. They have the Kit from Knight Rider, old and new. They have Fonzie's bike from Happy Days and Mr. T's A-Team van. If you're a Beatles fan, a John Lennon fan, they have Lennon's Austin Princess Hearse limo that was in the Imagine video. The classic cars on display there include cars from collections like Dean Cruise's, Bill Cranston's, and Jeff Scholl's, as well as Howard Hughes' Silver Ghost. And they've even got Andy Griffith's old Packard and President Hoover's car. You'll also get to see custom vehicles that were created by legendary car builder Carl Casper. You might remember Casper's Ghost and the Paddy Wagon. Everybody remembers the Paddy Wagon custom car. And I think I forgot to mention this, but back in the carriage section, they've got British royalty carriages. So, you'll get to see some really incredible stuff. The Cruise Automotive and Carriage Museum. In our travel guide place of the week, Auburn, Indiana. And that's the KarKix Travel Guide.
Mark Roman back for KarKix, talking about my car kids, or shall we say my automotive genealogy. Have you ever done that? It's something I'd like to have you do over the next week as homework. I want you to jot down every vehicle that you have ever owned or driven over the years in order and chronology. What was your first car? What was your first truck, SUV? And what important role did that play in your life? Every vehicle has a story. It could be a love-hate relationship, but it's something to kind of reflect back on. And it's interesting to see how that becomes the fabric of who you are as a person and what you've driven and what it says about you. Now, if there's anything I can say about myself, it's that I'm a wagon man. I have actually never given in to buying an SUV yet. Well, how many SUVs have you owned? And I'm sure they're great. I've just kind of held out, and I've converted into basically a wagon man because of it. I think it started back in about 94 when I actually bought my first brand new Subaru Loyale wagon. And I had that for an entire year, but it'd been in a few years until I'd bought another wagon again. And since then, I've had 2 additional BMW wagons. I've had 299 528 ITs. I love those things. I currently have a C240 Mercedes wagon that's a 2004. And you're saying to yourself, whoa, he's a little snooty guy that buys all these BMWs and everything. And not necessarily. The reason that I buy these is people that buy these brand new, once again, I'm saying I don't buy them new. The people that do usually have the money for the upkeep on these. Once the extended warranty goes out on those, they still will take these back to the dealership and have them properly maintained. So what happens when you buy these for a fraction, all of a sudden you know the history on that vehicle. And a little bit of why I buy them is, number one, they're awesome to drive. They're just incredible machines, but when they're kept up, I buy them with the intention of keeping them maintained myself. And when you can do that, you save yourself a lot of money, and it allows me to be able to drive something like that in any other case I never could or never would. So I'd had a 99 BMW. It was silver, and I purchased this with about 66,000 miles on it, and loved that vehicle. I would probably still have it until an elderly woman pulled out in front of me while I was going through an intersection. She made a left-hand turn, and we had probably about a 40-mile-an-hour impact, and that was the end of that vehicle. But walked away with it unscathed, and maybe because of the quality and construction of that vehicle. And I immediately searched online to find a replacement to it, and that was a green 528 IT. And once again, found that online in San Diego and drove it back to Albuquerque and maintained that until I got my current wagon, and that's a Mercedes. It's a C240. It's a 2004, and I've taken some incredible trips on it, but again, I just refuse to really buy into the fact that I need an SUV. Yeah, I've had trucks over the years. I've had a basically what is considered a Chevy S10, but it was an Isuzu, and they called it an Hombre, and I had that for a year, and just, very efficient vehicle. Never had any kind of problems with it, and because it was a off-brand Chevy, I got it for probably about $5,000 less than what I would have paid for a brand new S10. Now, that was a brand new truck, but because it was branded in Isuzu, and if you think about it, you go back to the late 70s when Chevy had the Chevy Love. That was literally made by Isuzu, but then as the price of the dollar changed and everything happened with Japan, suddenly Chevy was making an Isuzu brand for Isuzu. So it's amazing how the tables have turned. But other vehicles I've had over the years, let's see, a 94 Volkswagen Jetta GLX, a Fiat Spider. That was my first trip into sports cars. It was an 80 Fiat Spider. I actually used that on our honeymoon as we traveled around through northern Colorado into Telluride over into Arizona. There's nothing like a car that you can use in the fall, see all the foliage and all the aspens, and we always vowed to ourselves that since then we would always have a convertible. But from there I went on to a 73 Mercedes-Benz 280. It was my first Benz, and it was just the basic four-door. And when you find the history on some of these vehicles, that was a vehicle that was actually purchased in 73 out of Hollywood and eventually made its way into Dallas and Houston before, 30 years later, I bought it in Albuquerque. Other vehicles along the way, another convertible. It's American. It was a 98 Ford Mustang, possibly the best vehicle and convertible that I've ever owned. Bought it brand new, had it for 10 years, and put 170,000 miles on the vehicle. Never had any kind of trouble with it. Never leaked a drop of oil, other than me hitting a deer with it, which I made the repair myself. That was the only thing that ever happened to that vehicle. Other goodies along the way, an 85 BMW 5. Actually, that was a 5-speed 735i, and that made it a rarity. To have a 7 Series BMW with a 5-speed in it, I wish I still had that. I traded that in for a Mercedes-Benz 500 SEL. I think that's when I was in the luxury phase of my vehicles in chronology here. Probably the most plush vehicle that I've ever driven. Probably the nicest Mercedes I ever will. Bought that with 42,000 miles on it. And again, a stack of records that would literally break your arm to pick up, because these are the kind of vehicles that people maintain. It was a doctor that had actually owned it here in town, and it was a nice ride. It was a very nice ride. I could work on the vehicle myself, and that's, again, why I purchased that vehicle. From there, I actually decided to go back into a tuner mode and purchased a brand new 2002 Ford Focus SVT. Now, if you've had a Cobra, this is kind of the Cobra version of a Focus. At the time, the wife wanted me to buy a Mini, and that's when the Minis had just come back into the States here, and I didn't want to buy one because I didn't want 20 or 30 people gawking in that car because it was just, back here in the States and something brand new, whereas when you buy a Focus, other than the kids that know what it is, who wants to steal a Focus? But this thing, the kicker, had a 6-speed Getrag in it. It had 172 horsepower and probably one of the most competent vehicles that I've ever owned. And it felt really nice at 130 mile an hour. And that might have been the reason why the crank jumped on it but when I hit about 90,000 miles on the vehicle. But again, it was fun, and it was kind of a sleeper car. And I'd jump in a minute to have one again. From there, in 1986, again, Alfa Romeo Spider. There's a Spider sitting in my garage that I'm working on. It's kind of a rolling project. When I bought it, I made the mistake of saying, hey, it's still drivable, but I'm going to start to tinker with things. And I started to go into some of the electricals and have decided to redo the interior on it. And the interior was just basically tired, but the car is just in really nice shape, and I'm hoping to have that back on the road later on this summer. From there, if you're going to have nice vehicles, you're going to have to buy something that the wife likes as well, too. And that is a 2001 bright red Audi TT. We've had that thing 4 years now. And actually, the engine itself, it's a glorified 1.8 VW, so you can work on the thing. And I have really been partial to the body style of the first TT. Freeman Thomas did just an incredible job on the design, and it's something that I'm hoping to at least have for a long time in the garage and in the family. But I've also been tempted to actually buy one for myself. They are holding value, and that's one thing that I've really noticed on these vehicles, and I truly think they're going to be a collector's item sometime. And that's a little bit of why I'll purchase a vehicle is, with the intent that you're not going to lose a lot of the value on it, and at some point it might start to actually increase in value. And I'm guessing that's probably about another 5 to 10 years away before that happens. Sitting beside that in the garage, this is kind of a rarity. It's a 79 Lancia Zagato Spider. Again, another Italian car, and if you make the mistake of buying the 79, that's got all the emissions on it, and it's a nightmare to work on. But if you have one of those, you better have a parts car, and that's where I have an 82 Lancia Beta Spider down the street. Don't tell anyone. It's in storage, and she doesn't know about it, but I know I'm going to need parts for the other ones, so I've actually got that hidden away. From there, about convertibles, this is kind of a rarity too. If you're a Miata fan, I've got a 95 Miata M Edition. It's the BBS wheels on it. It's the BBS edition, and that supposedly is one of the 4 most desirable Miatas that you can have. It's the first edition. It was the Merlot mica color, really pretty, and that car stickered back in '95 when it was new for $25,000. But again, I found that a couple of years ago. Purchased it with less than 23,000 miles on it. In a nutshell, 23 vehicles. How many have you had over the years? And as opposed to just buying something new all the time, I'm really of the train of thought of what do you really want to drive? If you can work on these vehicles, they're easier to get into as opposed to having to purchase something and take it back to where you're having to pay somebody to work on them. So make that a point that if you're fascinated with a vehicle enough and you want it, it's within reach. So who are your car kids?
Wow, something about Mark's talk on automotive genealogy really hit me. About, a couple things. One about smart spending. Buying a low-mile, high-quality car, high luxury or high performance, saves you huge bucks. And if it's reliable, you're driving a higher quality car for a lot less money. You don't take that huge depreciation. I mean, look at old cars like, 50,000-mile Lexus versus a new one. That car's going to go 300,000 miles anyway, so enjoy the luxury for half the price. Z-Car, same thing. You're talking about a car that's high performance. It's high quality, so buy it a little bit used and away you go. Thanks, Mark. That was pretty good. I didn't expect homework, though, but you made me reflect. You know, we talk about the hot cars in our lives to our friends. I love to talk about the GT500, 67 GT500 Shelby we had for a while. And, man, what a car. But, you know, when I really look back and I think about the cars, you know, that I don't really talk about too much, that really helped, they really contributed to our success, either as the company or as a family. You know, I've got a Pontiac 6000 wagon, helped me start the company. A Country Squire that helped me run a Boy Scout troop, you know. So I don't talk about those, I don't talk about those cars very much. This week, I'm going to do the homework. I'm going to list them out and take a moment to reflect on and how they've contributed to where my life has gone. Now, where did I put the keys to that Bentley? KarKix, we'll be right back. Now it's time for a KarKix car quiz. James Bond's book author, Ian Fleming, wrote a children's book about a car, which was later made into a movie. What was the name of the car and the movie? A. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, B. Herbie the Love Bug, C. Speed Racer, or D. Cars. We'll have the answer in just a moment. Are you in an automotive-related industry? If you'd like to advertise on KarKix, we offer social media, web, and on-air opportunities to automotive-based businesses that want to be heard by this very special audience. People who take action and get things done. Auto enthusiasts with the means to use products and services provided by quality companies. We have special programming that gives you the opportunity to get your message out with more than just a 60-second ad. To find out more, use the contact page at KarKix.com. The Blackhawk Automotive Galleries are like no place you've ever experienced. Located an hour southeast of San Francisco in Danville, California, the Blackhawk encompasses nearly 70,000 square feet. With 4 exhibition galleries, an automotive reference library, and a museum store, plus a special events area and meeting room. The Blackhawk is a Smithsonian affiliate museum, open Wednesday through Sunday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Learn more about the Blackhawk at blackhawkmuseum.org. See you there. And now the answer to your KarKix car quiz. In 1968, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, based on Ian Fleming's novel of the same name, starred Dick Van Dyke as Caractacus Potts and Sally Ann Howes as Truly Scrumptious. 6 versions of the car were built for the film, and a number of replicas have been produced. For the film version, 6 cars were created, including a fully functional road-going car with UK registration GEN 11. Built by Alan Mann Racing in Hertfordshire in 1967 and fitted with a Ford 3000 V6 engine and automatic, the car was privately held until 2011. Actor Dick Van Dyke, who drove the car in the film, said that the car was a little difficult to maneuver with the turning radius of a battleship. And that's your KarKix car quiz.
Time for a look in the KarKix toolbox.
In the toolbox today is something we all wish we had in the shop. If you have one now, you're lucky. These are made in Texas with a Texas-style guarantee, and they're made with quality workmanship and a patented design. That would all sound good if it was something you could use, wouldn't it? Well, it is. It's a media blaster and a blast cabinet made by Lake Buchanan Enterprises, right in the middle of Texas. The Barrel Blaster and the Blast Master. One is the cabinet style, and the other for larger items like a 60 Chrysler. That would be the Blast Master. It's on wheels with a built-in funnel, ceramic nozzles available in 4 sizes, a gauge relief valve, 10-foot of hose, and it carries 150 pounds of abrasive. You can use aluminum oxide, glass beads, or walnut shells, same as the cabinet model, the Barrel Blaster. Now, the Barrel Blaster, my fave, is a great tool for a wide range of applications. Automotive restoration, gun refinishing, glass etching, surface preparation, rust and paint removal, all of them are a cinch, and really the applications are endless. The unit is tough enough for industrial use, but the cool thing is it's affordable enough for any home shop. With jobs being lost overseas, it's nice to see an American company come along that has something that is both affordable and works great. I'd say Yankee ingenuity, but it's from Texas, you know. At $299, the Barrel Blaster is the deal. It's built from what looks like a 55-gallon drum and outfitted with a blasting gun and gloves, internal work light, 12x16 viewing window, easy access drain for media changes, and an innovative shop vac connection for dust collection. Now, shipping for the Barrel Blaster doesn't hurt either, because what they do is they put all the parts, stand, everything comes packaged inside the barrel, and then it's shipped inexpensively. Assembly is easy. All parts are labeled and require no special tools. The viewing area is great, and the 50-pound media capacity is more than enough for all the grit you need to clean off a part. The shop vac port is perfectly sized, and the 23-inch by 33-inch work area offers plenty of capacity for larger parts up to 10 by 16. Overall, the Barrel Blaster is a well-built American-made blasting cabinet with an excellent value point. We find it perfectly suited for the shop who needs to blast parts on a regular basis, as well as a hobbyist or a gearhead at home. I know I want one, and you can find out more about it on our links page at KarKix.com. KarKix.com. Well, this week turned out to be a busy little show. We talked about Nissan bringing back Datsun, BMW possibly bringing back Triumph, the Barracuda with a supercharged Hemi, and Automotive Genealogy. Keep it going by joining us on Facebook, and we'll catch you right here next week on KarKix.
That's all for now. See you right here next time with more KarKix. KarKix is a production of Spirited USA, who is solely responsible for its content. Copyright 2011. All rights reserved. Join us on the web at KarKix.com. That's KarKix.com. Hasta la vista, baby. See you later.